Dear friend, in this very moment, as you listen to these words, in the deepest recesses of your being, do you feel a profound weariness? Not the bodily fatigue that follows a long day of ceaseless toil. Rather, a depletion of the soul, that stifling, draining sensation when you must perpetually brace yourself, expending the very last measure of your vitality merely to cling to something that, by its very nature, has been, and forever is, slipping from your grasp. Perhaps, it is a relationship already marred by fractures. You know it to be broken. You know those shards of glass carve into your bleeding hands day and night. And yet, you cannot bear to relinquish it, for you mourn the memories. You mourn the youth you have already surrendered. Perhaps, it is an expectation, a foundation of your vocation upon which you placed your absolute faith and pride, only to bear witness to its collapse right before your eyes, leaving you to curl up in the dark each night, tormenting yourself with those hopeless refrains. If only back then. What if I had not? Or perhaps, it is but an old silhouette, a wound from yesteryear that lingers on, persistently stalking you like a dark shadow within your subconscious, coldly stripping away all your joy and serenity in the present moment. Amidst those long, dark, and stifling nights, how many times have you cast your gaze towards the heavens, tears welling, and screamed in the silence, "Why? Why is this life so unforgiving? Why must so much injustice, so much tragedy, continually pour down upon these shoulders?" Yet, my friend, there exists a bare, brutal truth that we seldom possess the courage to confront. The truth is this: life is inherently silent. It harbors no intention of dispensing suffering, nor of punishing any soul. Consider, if you will, a tempest, when the dark clouds gather and the deluge descends. The rain outside is, in itself, merely a natural phenomenon of the heavens and the earth. The rain inadvertently drenches all things. The rainwater merely wets your garments. However, it is your choice to stand rooted beneath that freezing downpour, gazing upwards and condemning the sky for weeping, rather than seeking sanctuary. That is what truly causes you to take a chill and fall ill. Within Buddhist philosophy, there lies a profoundly deep teaching concerning the principle of the two arrows. In this very moment, you are being struck by an invisible arrow. Life, with its inherent impermanence, casts upon you upheavals, separations, falterings, or losses. That is the first arrow, the arrow of reality. No soul in this world may evade this arrow, be they a saint or a mere mortal. When it strikes and pierces the flesh, it brings pain. That is inevitable. Yet, the first arrow typically leaves but a finite wound. The bleeding will, in due course, cease. The flesh will one day form a scar. Time shall perform its work. That which truly destroys you from within, that which causes you to bleed day upon day, month upon month, leaving you bereft of escape, is the second arrow. This second arrow is steeped in the venom of resistance, of resentment, of self-pity, of long, sleepless nights spent clawing open old wounds. And do you know what the most tragic truth of all is? This second arrow is not loosed upon you by the heavens, by fate, or by the hand of a betrayer. It is you who personally takes it up and plunges it directly into your own bleeding wound. Why? Why are we so ruthless in the wounding of ourselves? Because, concealed deep within each of us, lies a colossal illusion of ignorance. We harbor a desperate craving to command all that surrounds us. We are akin to a naive child, extending our tiny hands toward the vast, expansive sky, endeavoring to seize and hold tightly unto the drifting clouds. But clouds are impermanent. How might one cage a cloud within the palm of their hand? The more fiercely you squeeze, the more that cloud shatters, slipping through your fingers and scattering to the wind. Our lives are precisely thus. Love, people, youth, prestige, wealth. They are all but drifting clouds. They arrive and depart. They gather and dissolve. The more desperately you cling to that which is destined to change, the more your heart shall break. The more force you exert to bind and freeze a flowing river, the more you shall be torn asunder and drowned by its current. Today, in this precise moment, let us pause all such blaming together. No more fleeing. Let us attempt, but once, to bravely look straight upon the truth, to look upon the second arrow you have been driving into your own chest all this time, and gently ask yourself, is it time that I finally grant these hands the permission to let go? You know, upon hearing the words, letting go, so many of us are often gripped by an obscure, lingering dread. We labor under the misconception that to let go equates to becoming cold and unfeeling. That one must cast aside all affection, extinguish every dream and hope in exchange for a fabricated security, solely to shield oneself from further wounding. Yet, this is profoundly untrue. The Buddha never instructed us to transform into senseless, inanimate stones. His counsel was this: love, by all means, but do not cling. Yearn, but do not be blinded by it. Hope, yet harbor no fear. Imagine, if you will, your love or your dreams as an exquisitely beautiful little bird. Should you love this creature through the lens of attachment, you would forge a formidable cage to confine it, purely to appease your own sense of possession. The bird is deprived of its sky, and you, in turn, reduce yourself to a miserable warden, plagued day and night by the anxiety of its escape. However, should you love with an awakened mind, you would throw the cage doors wide open. You grant the bird the boundless freedom of its sky, and bestow upon yourself the serenity of the soul. True renunciation does not lie in the discarding of all things, but rather in refusing to allow the myriad things of this world to tether your mind. Why is our mind perpetually restless, so prone to binding itself? It is because, in our deepest recesses, we are terrified of stillness. We dread the void within ourselves. Thus, the mind ceaselessly flings itself into the external world, chasing after one person, then another, clinging to wealth, prestige, or clamorous diversions, merely to obscure its own solitude. Herein lies the very root of all suffering: ignorance. It is the cruel illusion that compels you to believe this diminutive I exists in isolation, severed from the rest of the world. Consider a leaf. The leaf would wither and endure profound agony should it forget that it belongs to a tree. The tree would suffer a barren demise should it forget its roots are entwined with the earth. And humanity suffers, simply because we have forgotten that we are, by nature, an interwoven thread in the grand tapestry of this vast universe. Nothing is truly separate, nor is anything ever entirely lost. How, then, do we cease firing these poisoned arrows into our own hearts? How do we step free from the mire of our afflictions? When a monk once inquired of the Buddha regarding the path to transcend suffering, he merely offered a serene smile and replied, "The path is not afar. It is right here, in this very moment." That path is named mindfulness. Mindfulness is no esoteric magic. It is, quite simply, tranquil observation. Instead of fleeing in panic from your pain, or throwing yourself into a struggle against it, try, just for once, to sit in quietude with yourself. When a surge of anger rises, when a sorrow descends and constricts your chest, do not pass judgment upon it. Do not resent it, nor should you identify yourself with that emotion. Simply take a step back, and become the silent observer. Ah, sorrow is here, anger is present. Human emotion is entirely akin to a flame. If you refrain from casting more timber into that fire, which is to say, if you withhold the fuel of resistance, lamentation, or malice from your pain, then the fire, no matter how fiercely it blazes, will ultimately, of its own accord, burn out. Cease your flight from your pain. Pain has never been the adversary. It is, in truth, a stern tutor, and the most unvarnished mirror reflecting the attachments within your soul. Have the patience to sit with it, to extend grace to your own wounds, and listen closely to the lesson it endeavors to teach you. The moment you comprehend its origin, that mirror of attachment will shatter on its own, and behind those fragments remains naught but the vast sky of liberty, and an immeasurable, tranquil peace. Suffering has never truly belonged to you. It is but a shadow cast upon the path you walk. That shadow may appear colossal and fearsome in the dark, yet it will seamlessly dissolve, leaving not a trace, the very instant the light of awakening dawns. Draw a deep breath. Right in this moment, grant your hands the permission to loosen their grip. Grant yourself the permission to lay down the arrow. You have toiled profoundly. Now is the time for your heart to find its rest. In the waning moments of the video, the Buddha utters not another word. He merely offers a faint, gentle smile. A wordless smile, steeped in profound silence, embracing the entirety of space and time. Do you ponder the meaning concealed within that smile? It is the smile of one who has fully awakened from a long, arduous nightmare. Within that dream, we wept, we writhed, we despaired, laboring under the illusion that our losses were absolute, our agonies eternal. Yet, when the light of awakening breaks forth, we suddenly realize, it was all but a play of the mind. We realize that no matter how dark and tempestuous the clouds may gather, the sky behind them remains eternally pristine and serene. You are not the storm cloud, heavily burdened with rain. Your genesis, your truest essence, is, in fact, that boundless sky. Once you comprehend this, a miracle shall softly knock upon the door of your soul. Tomorrow, when the sun rouses, the world outside shall continue to turn in its own customary manner. The hardships may yet remain. Those who misunderstand you may still cast their bitter words. The first arrow of life will, from time to time, still graze past you. And yet, the you of tomorrow shall be transformed. No longer a victim of circumstance, you shall receive all things with an empathetic smile. Rather than tears of resentment, you shall smile as you refuse to pick up that second arrow and plunge it into your own chest. The old wounds will cease their bleeding, beginning to scar over, yielding ground to the green shoots of serenity. But before this miracle may blossom, there remains one final deed you must undertake. Right in this very moment, you must forgive. Not merely forgiving those who have inflicted pain upon you, not merely forgiving life for its rugged, winding paths, but above all else, you must forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the bygone years spent inadvertently causing your own suffering. Forgive your own ignorance in desperately trying to hold fast to things that were destined to change. You did the very best you could with the awareness you possessed at the time. It is all right. It has all passed now. Suffering was never your destiny. It is but a passing traveler, knocking on your door to remind you that the time has come to return home. To return to the tranquil sanctuary of your inner self, a place no worldly tempest can ever reach. Right now, in this present moment, draw in a deep breath, allowing the crisp, pure air to fill your lungs. And as you exhale, allow all sorrows, all attachments to slip away with your breath. I release, I let go, I am at peace. Dear friend, if these intimate words have granted you a moment of relief, a fleeting solace amidst the tumult of life, please press save on this audio. Let it become a quiet, sheltering eaves, a refuge you may return to whenever your mind begins to stir into a storm. And you know, out there, perhaps at this very instant, a friend, a beloved of yours is also silently enduring their own bleeding, second arrows. Knowing not whom to confide in, do share this video with them. A gentle touch, A timely reminder can occasionally salvage an entire world that is crumbling within someone's heart. To delve deeper into this journey of healing, to truly fathom the roots of suffering and the practice of mindfulness in our daily lives, I invite you to click the link below in the comments to watch the complete discourse on Why Do We Suffer? Walk alongside us on this path to reclaiming awakening. Thank you for possessing the courage to sit with yourself today. May you forever walk through this life with a heart that is expansive, free, and bathed in light. Peace is forever right here, within your very breath.